Can I go out and come back in? Because my headset just cut off.
Yeah, go. Okay, yeah, go out and come back in.
Okay.
Yo, what's good, YouTube? What's good? It's Stormy B Man, and I am back welcoming you to In the Eye of the Storm with Stormy B Man. And today we've got a special guest with us here. We got Blue Blood Sports TV, and we are here to present Blue as a guest on In the Eye of the January 20th, January 30th, excuse me, 2021. And we're going to talk a little bit about Blood Sports TV and present him to you guys. We're just waiting on Blue to get his mic together here, and we will start. What's up to everybody that's out there in the chat? We got Connor Local Sports is out there. He says salute to all. Gregory X is out there. Says greetings, brothers and sisters. Dr. Professor is out there. Says salute family and salute Blue Blood. Eric Jenkins is out there. Says at Stormy B Man and Blue Blood salute. And BBG has joined us, and he's got a donation for the super chat, and he says salute Stormy and Blue and the whole LDBC. So what's good with everybody out there? And so with no further ado or delay, we got my man Blue Blood out there. What's going on with you, Blue? Hold on a second. He just fell out again. Eric Jenkins is out there, says salute. Here we go. I think we got him now. There he is. We finally got him in there.
What's going on with you, King? Ain't nothing, man.
It's all good, man. It's all good. Just greeting everybody in the chat. Trying to pick that up from you, man, and pay more attention to the people in the chat. We got Tone Brown out there. He says, salute Stormy B Man and Blue. So, Blue, it's an honor, man, to have you here for the show. I've been wanting to collab with you for a while to get you on the show here. And it's nice that we're going to be kicking off Black History Month very soon. And it is a privilege to have as many of you guys who are channel operators, content creators, be a part of this process. Those of you who have been out there for the longest and have the most, extensive work. And you're definitely amongst that group. And like I said, it's a privilege to have you on the show here today. And the whole idea behind when I created In the Eye of the Storm was to present content to the boxing community, of course, the LDBC, but just boxing community in general, just earnest content creators who are really doing it. And you are the hardest working guy out there. So it's a privilege to have you out there, man. So
I appreciate you, man.
we're gonna get right into the show. Yes, sir.
I appreciate you.
I want to know, what was it about boxing that sparked and piqued your interest, that got you into it, that led to you doing content on social media and YouTube?
Well, since I was a kid, a lot of people don't know this, but my mom was into boxing. She's not into the sport of boxing. She just knows a lot of people who are in the sport of boxing. I have family members that are high ranking. Larry Hazard is actually my grandfather's brother. And my mother has a lot of relationships with, a lot of boxer trainers, a lot of boxers, their family, things of that nature. So when I was a kid, actually, when I was a young kid, I didn't even like boxing. I'm like, man, this is boring. You know what I mean? But I like the dare I say, the swagger of a Sugar Ray Leonard. I like how they carry themselves. I live with Howard Davis, Olympic gold medalist, former world champion. You know what I mean? My mother had me, without me knowing. I didn't even know who I was around and what you understand? I didn't even know the relationships. My uncle Larry Hazard, I didn't know what he was into. I just knew family barbecues. You know what I mean? I just knew I was just being a kid. And then my grandfather told me one day, I had a fist fight with my cousins, and my grandfather told me, he said, "Young fella," I was crying. I started crying while I was fist fighting, right, with one of my cousins. And my grandfather said to me, he says, "Young fella, I don't think you tough enough for sports." And because I used to always tell my grandfather I like sport. So he said, "What you win in the fight? What are you crying for?" And I said, I didn't want to have to hurt my cousin. Right. And so my grandfather said, "Listen, in life, sometimes you hurt the people most close to you." Right. And I didn't understand that. And then my grandfather said, "Listen, as I grew, I started being in football. I started being in doing boxing. I started doing baseball. And boxing was simple to me, maybe because of my adrenaline. The issue I had was dealing with boxing with people that were close to me. And so I had a close cousin that was in boxing with me when we were young. And he's like my favorite cousin, and he's a year older than me. And we had to spar, me and him. And I was like, man, I can't do this. I didn't understand that what's available to you is what you use to get you to the next level. And so, and so with that said, I pulled back from wanting to box, and I engaged in football, but I still loved the sport of boxing, but I dedicated myself to football. And then as I got older, 12 concussions later, and seeing black stars and things of that issue, having depression issues, from football, I started to regret not being in the sport of boxing, and then started to understand and identify what was around me. And then I started to say, oh man, this dude, that's Howard Davis. Now you understand later on, man, that's Howard Davis. I lived with him. I used to watch him punch the heavy bag in the backyard. We had a heavy bag in the backyard. He had a pull-up dip bar, sit-up machine. I didn't understand exactly what I had in front of me. the relationship, I don't like to tell my mother because my mother's not into boxing. She just has relationships with boxers, trainers, and in the sport. And now I look and I say, man, this dude, man, is now I see who they are.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Today's time. And so, my passion, I felt I got too old to try to dedicate myself to the sport of boxing. So I said I can't compete, but I could give my opinion about it and my passion for it. And so my hard work, and people always say, man, bro, you one of the hardest workers here. I don't see it. I don't see it because it's not work. It's not a job. It just, at times my wife be like, listen, no live streams on the weekend. No this cut, she got to pull me away. Man, I do this all day, you know. And I tell people I know the sport of football just as much as I know the sport of basketball. I mean, boxing. And people don't know that. I had a relationship with Rex Ryan. I gave him ideas on the defense. People don't even know that. Rex Ryan. So because once I dedicate myself to something, I don't look back. I don't like plan Bs. And so with that said, I let a lot of people, they'd be like, hey man, this guy, who's this guy? It's my passion. They confuse my passion with dislike. They confuse my passion with, hatred towards a boxer or not liking a boxer or not. No, I learned something when people say, I used to feel a need, and just recently I stopped, but I used to feel a need to, prove my information and my connections. No, I'm just loyal. And so I get nothing. A weatherman gets paid very, very well to be right twice a week.
If that.
You understand? If that, right? And nobody holds him accountable. We in a sport that's unpredictable. So I get a lot of information through a lot of connects and a lot of contacts, and a lot of people say, hey, you this is your mother, this is your mother, this is your uncle, this is your grand. And so I could touch base with a lot of people, but also in the flip side of that, my passion may hurt a lot of my relationships with boxers, if that makes sense. So that's what got me into the sport of boxing. Ultimately I chose football over boxing, because I couldn't see myself hurting loved ones. Right. And so that's why I went this direction. Or I would have been a boxer, but as when I was first young, I think that, when your mom give you something to eat over and over and over again, you get tired of like, man, when you get bigger, you be like, I ain't trying to eat that no more. That's all. People may say, man, I love this. And you may be like, man, I can't eat that. Not one more time. Because that's all I ate.
Yeah.
And now I realize why I said I started to, when I was young, man, boxing is boring. Boxing is this. Because now it hit me. When my mother used to go to boxing gyms, I was bored while she was, maybe talking or meeting or having a conversation. I wasn't participating, so I had to sit there and I'm bored. So that's what made me young be like, man, this is boring. I was oversaturated with it. But now the spark is back, man, and I love it, man. I'm passionate about it, and my passion is sparked from a lot of disappointment, like the situation we got with the sanction body. It's disappointing, because me and you, we may understand deeper than a lot of so-called just fans, because of the connections and relationships behind the scene. A lot of people say you should never meet your idols because they'll disappoint you. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's the sport of boxing. It disappoints us, man. but that passion runs so deep, we can't step away from it. Can't step away from it, man. So that's ultimately where my passion comes from. Um, I was in and around it, grew up in it, and didn't even realize what I was in. I didn't
Hmm.
appreciate it when I was younger. That's probably what it
Now,
is.
what put you on that path toward producing content where you start to cover the sport? Was that just an easy step to the side, since the idea of participating may not have been for you because time and things like that, but the whole idea about covering the sport and then creating a channel where you can upload news and information and get it out there to the masses. What put you on that track?
Well, I was. Most people know I was working in the operating room. I did trauma for 17 years. Trauma calls, gunshots, stabbings. Uh, you name it, I've seen it, and I participated in assistance. I was a surgical assistant. Okay, so and I did all the trauma calls overnight. Uh, when we had the deceased, when patients didn't make it, uh, Blue took the patients to the morgue. I washed the patients up. Uh, I tagged them, I bagged them, and I put them in the morgue. Um, I was the on-call uh, assistance that uh, when we got a trauma call from the ER, I answered the phone. I had two teams on call, which were, I had one team that was on site, and then I had another team that was off site, but they couldn't go out of a certain radius. They had to stay within a certain mile radius because if I did get a trauma call and the team on site had to assist that trauma, then the other team I had to call, they had to come sit on site just in case I got another trauma team, excuse me, another trauma call at the same time simultaneously, right? Because obviously you can't predict that. So saying this to say, um, I got depressed. I got depressed in doing it. Always, all the doctors, all the nurses, for every fight, I threw massive fight parties, where I had, just man, hundreds of people at my house for fights. You know, doctors would come, surgeons, nurses, assistants, and everybody would come. It would be massive, and people wouldn't leave. Me and my wife, we would have uh, uh, beds and pull out mattresses just in case people got too intoxicated and they couldn't go home. You know what I mean? We ain't letting you drink and drive. Put your keys in the bag. So boxing was always my passion, right? And so I got depressed doing the traumas, man. I seen one too many people transition. It's not a natural thing. You know what I mean? I mean, when you're in there, you realize that life has no age limit, right? So I'm talking kids from 5 years old to people as old as 90. You know what I'm saying? Maybe even 100, and in between.
It,
You know,
it takes a special person to do that type of work, man. And I've heard you mention it on your channel before, but I didn't know to the extent that you had that type of background. And it's amazing that you found your way to the sport that you love and have a great deal of love for, because that kind of puts you in it's not for me to say a better place, but what you had to deal with mentally, going through seeing all of that trauma, all of that death and things like that, it at least you have something that you were able to replace that with, that you have a love and a passion for. And though there's still some sacrifice in this situation when you talk about the sport of boxing, at least it's a more level playing ground for you, so to speak, I would say. Would you agree with that?
oh, absolutely. And and this is where people don't understand when we have situation. Patrick Day, we lost him in the ring.
Yeah.
Patrick Day is somebody that I knew since he was 6, 7 years old. Followed his entire. I knew this kid. I did charity events at his gym. I donated gloves, safety equipment, gloves, cups, mouthpieces, headgear. I donated all of that to his gym. Coach Joe, I know him. Tyrone, Titus Williams. They all from the same gym. I knew all of these kids since they was little, and to see him, a kid that's so smart, whose family, his mother is a interpreter for the government. His dad is a doctor, if I'm not mistaken. They are successful people. He didn't need to do the sport of boxing. He did it out of the passion and love for the sport. And me being in the field that I'm in and seeing so many people transition and seeing so many families heartbroken. And when we boil it down to a sport that's already dangerous, they already put their life on the line for our entertainment. And when you see situations like this situation with Deontay Wilder, it's passionate for me. I talked to Deontay Wilder for 2 hours after he had surgery. He still was under somewhat coming out of his anesthesia. And so to know what the end result could be, see, some people in life haven't experienced certain levels of trauma. Mm-hmm. And that's where my passion comes from. Because I've seen situations that are unthinkable. Right? I give you a story. One of the stories that helped me transition to where I'm at into the way what you're asking me. It was a lady, her 75th birthday. She lived out of the country. Her family and everybody wanted to surprise her. And they flew her in, and they had all the family, her sisters, brothers, everybody in, and nephews and grandkids and everybody in to surprise her for her birthday. Well, this lady comes in and they surprise her. And the unthinkable happens. She has a massive heart attack when they surprise her at her own party. And so they bring her to my hospital. And I and a few other doctors and stuff, we have to try to save this lady. We got maybe 150 people outside the operating room that's waiting to hear the news. And this lady don't make it. And me and the surgeon have to go out and tell the family that something they thought they were doing good turned out to be tragic. These are stories people don't know in their everyday life. So I had to go out with the doctor and see and crush that family. And so that's something that is a part of that spiral me into a depression. And I worked 2 jobs. As people remember, I used to do videos on the school bus. Because after that, I said, listen, I'm seeing so much bad, but I did traumas, right?
Yeah.
When I get a phone call, ain't nothing good about it. You ain't coming to because you stepped on a toenail, a nail, and you're trying to get the nail out your foot. No, when I get the call, it's a gunshot wound, it's a car accident, it's a train accident, it's the stabbing, it's bad. When my phone ring, it's bad. And so a few situations like that one started to spiral me. So I said, listen, I told my wife I need to do something that make me feel good. After I seen children go to the mall. And so I started to work at a school bus. Let me drop kids off at school. Kids come to the school bus, they happy go lucky. Hey, bus driver. Hey, how you doing? Hey, they happy, they lift my spirits. So guess what I did? I worked 10 at night to 7 in the morning. And from 7 in the morning, I went straight to the school bus and I took the kids to school. Because that helped lift me up from what the unexplainable. I can't explain to you what I saw and what I've been through in the hospital. You just can't imagine.
Yeah.
So I decided to do the school bus. So one day I took a nap in between you know, you get that break on the school bus in the morning after you drop the kids off. You don't go back to the afternoon. And so I got that break, and the TV show was playing, Blue Bloods. And I laid down and it was playing in my dream. I was so tired, man, because I worked overnight. And the show played in my dream, and I woke up. And one particular episode was about a boxer with domestic violence, ironically enough. And I said, man, I love the sport of boxing. That day, I went downstairs and told my wife, you know, I'm going to start my own boxing podcast. She said, what? What are you talking about? You got so much going on. Because at the time, I was still working in the hospital and still doing it. And then that day, I called my nephew because he's good with he's like great with this social media, electronics. And I told him, I need you to hook me up because I need to do a podcast. And I ain't looked back since that day. And
That's
then I
great.
had one more incident take place at the hospital. And I'm still actually in remission. I got one more year before I have to let them know if I'm coming back or not.
That's great, man, that you are able to make a transition for the betterment of your well-being. Because a lot of times we don't take the time out to think about ourselves, especially when we're in a position to be helping others so much. So it's great that you found that for yourself. And I got a newfound respect for what you're doing and how you do what you do because of knowing that little bit of background that you were able to share. See, that's something that, and I'm glad having a show like this where we can have a conversation. But that's something that when people come to the channel of a particular content creator and they make a fixed judgment of you and things, and they don't understand certain things, just like, you know, right before we went live and you were saying that you're just being swamped with all of this work and activity. You know, if I don't know, it's like I could think something a certain kind of way, but that's why. And my man, Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens, shout out to him. You know, I work with him on my Friday night shows, and he would always say, you know, conversation rules the nation, you know, and that's definitely true. You know, I want to take a quick moment and acknowledge a super chat from our brother Curtis Anderson, aka Kurt Sugar, aka your co-host.
The historian, my brother.
The historian, yeah. Like, he says, my brother Stormy and Blue, salute 100. Yes, sir. Thank you for that, Kurt. Appreciate you. By the way, did you see Fred's little thing on you the other day?
Oh man, I was in here in tears, man. He had me rolling, man. He said, when the part that stuck to me the most, he said, this dude, the only dude I know with a full head of hair and got 80 different hats.
80 hats.
I was in tears.
And then they would tell you, he's like, my boy in that chat with that hundo.
With the hundo.
Yeah. But yeah, that's great, man. We've got some news that you broke recently on this whole ordeal with the WBA and Manny Pacquiao. Let's revisit that a little bit. For those who haven't heard what's going on with that, can you kind of like shed some light on that again for us? What's happening? You know, Pacquiao no longer has the title.
Yeah, and I can double down on that because we got some more news today about that. The WBA, they informed Manny Pacquiao because he informed them that he wanted to fight Conor McGregor in the crossover sport fight. And they informed him that it's going on 2 years and you haven't successfully defended the title against anybody in the top 10 ranking system. And you know, Manny Pacquiao wanted to press forward. He wanted to essentially get his feet back wet after Keith Thurman fight took place July 2019. It's been a long time. So he didn't want to go into a serious fight. Most people thought he would fight Mikey Garcia. But he chose to go in a direction of Ryan Garcia after the WBA informed him that, listen, this ain't going to happen. You have to defend it, be serious about this. And so he pushed forward the Ryan Garcia fight. As we know, it's more than likely going to take place April 24th. And the WBA decided to put him champion recess, AKA we stripping you of the belt until further notice. Now, what's interesting about that is the other sanction bodies today and the WBN, they have come out. I just put a video out about that. They have come out and now they don't want to recognize the WBA as a major sanction body because of these actions. And now they're stating that they knew, being the WBA, that they promised that they would eliminate some of the many belts in the sport of boxing. They want one belt per division. And they're saying that they knew that Manny Pacquiao, due to the pandemic, was helping out the people over in his country. And he's, he's an important person over there being the Senate. So they should not have stripped him. But ironically enough, they're saying that the WBA stripping Manny Pacquiao and elevating Ugas, which eliminates a belt in a division and leaves us with one champion in a division. They're saying that that's an issue because they said that they were going to do away with the regular belt that was confusing. But at the same token, they said that they addressed the WBC franchise and they said that's confusing as well. But hopefully Canelo Alvarez will retire soon and they'll do away with it. But you want to take action upon the WBA right now, but you allow the Teofimo Lopez, Canelo Alvarez, the confusion with the franchise belt, introducing all these belts is an issue. And then they go on to say the WBO is teetering on the same line as the WBA with introducing more titles to the sport of boxing. Isn't them taking the belt away from Manny Pacquiao, eliminating belts? We only have one champion now. So we want to penalize them for doing the right thing, for eliminating the confusion. And you're saying that they should allow Manny Pacquiao to hold on to the belt because they know he's helping the people over in his country. Now, another interesting take about this is that we know that if any sanction body is causing confusion in the sport of boxing, that would be the WBC that's causing the most confusion within the sport of boxing, not the WBA. So you are going to recognize you want to recognize the WBC, but you no longer want to recognize the WBA for attempting to make and clarify in the sport of boxing. And on top of that, they're saying that from here moving forward, if the WBA is included in any unification bouts, then that bout won't be considered a unification bout. This according to the WBA. And if they are included in an undisputed bout, that bout won't be considered undisputed. And if the belt is considered so if the WBC and the WBA is on the line, essentially like this fight coming up with Billy Joe Saunders and Canelo Alvarez, the WBA is not going to be recognized according to them. So they're petitioning the other sanction bodies to press forward with this. That's disgusting. All because essentially you don't even have a valid point in saying that them eliminating a belt makes more confusion. No, they eliminated Manny Pacquiao. The confusion is you want Manny Pacquiao to represent the sanction body because he's a big name in the sport. That's what you want. More confusion, the corruption within the sport of boxing. It never ends.
And they've band together in this thought process.
Right. So the WBN is now trying to partition. They want the WBC, the IBF, and the WBO to get on board with them to not recognize the WBA as a major sanction body moving forward.
Unbelievable. You know, last night when I did the stream, I did a late night stream for the Friday night chop session because I had some kind of technical problem where my decoder just shut down on me. So I did a late night stream and I talked about how we could be a lot more responsible by going after the problems in the sport instead of focusing in on the fighters and their purses and who should make this and who's, a what do you call it, A side, B side, and all of that. Again, here we have an example of something that is fresh off the presses, as you would say, that needs our attention and needs our focus, because united, we can address these matters and express our displeasure for them and light a fire under what's happening there and get it steered back on course in the way and manner it should be for the sport of boxing. There's too many people out here that are tagging on to what's not necessary as far as have giving energy and attention to. But something like this, definitely we should be talking about it. We should be having it on our airs and putting it out there and letting the people know, because they want the corruption to persist. They want it to remain as a part of the DNA of what comes with the sport of boxing. And there's no room for that. There's plenty of room for everything else that's been going on in boxing, but we really need to get rid of this element of corruption. It just totally erodes the sport. And one of the actions that we could take is by not giving energy to those matches that they try to put on for us. And it's like when you see like what transpired last night between those heavyweights, I got second hand information on it. I didn't see it myself because I was actually trying to do my live stream, but I heard about it, and I didn't even want to go and check out the video replay or anything when I heard how woefully out of shape the fighters were and what type of promotion it was, everything that's going on with brother Frez Okendo. It's like, man, this is ridiculous. What are your thoughts on that? What happened last night as well, as far as those heavyweights?
Yeah, I agree, man, and that's part of the reason why the WBA is claiming that they have a Buddha. They're claiming that they have an issue with what's taking place. In the with the WBA, they said that the WBA elevating Jermaine Stavern was a travesty, is what they're stating. They're saying that was a Stavern had now Jermaine Stavern hasn't had in 5 years, is what the WBN is saying, and yet the WBA has elevated him, right?
Damn.
Yeah, Avni Yildirim, he hasn't had a win since 3 years himself, but he's getting WBC. That's not an issue. That too is an issue. But so this just lets
Right.
us know that the sport of boxing is based off of money, because you can't justify the actions from the WBC if anybody is causing any confusion. Now, both of these guys, Frez Okendo and Jermaine Stavern, they both out of shape, both inactive, right? But if you could justify, how could you justify? How could you be mad at the WBA for their for wanting to elevate, Jermaine Stavern, but then you're not upset. You're not upset with the WBC and the way they maneuver. That's the issue. That's the biggest issue. The first order of business for the sport of boxing should be addressing what's taking place with the WBC.
Right.
They completely introduced a whole different level of sanction. But it's one thing to upon a time the W and ESPN addressing Teofimo Lopez as undisputed when you cannot win or lose the belt. Well, so that changed. So they're changing their rules as they go, but yet we're not gonna address that. We want to address the WBA for doing the right thing.
Right.
This the sport of boxing that we love, like you said, us as the fans, us as the media, we have to understand and recognize just how much effect. Are you there, Stormy?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm still here.
Hello?
Yeah.
Stormy, you there?
I'm here, Blue. You moving around, huh?
Hello?
I'm still here. I think Blue is on the move, people, and we'll just wait for him to pop back in because sound like he was in his car now. That brother is busy, man. He on the fly and everything. But yeah, we give him a moment to come back.
Hello?
There you are. There you are.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
I can hear you. You're moving around. So yeah.
Yeah. You know, the wife always, you know how women are, man. They feel like they always try to find something for you to do, man. But
yeah, it's fine. We just didn't hear that last little bit that you were saying when you got in the car, and I heard you turn signal or something like clicking.
okay,
But
yeah. What I was saying is we need, as fans, as media, as pundits in the sport of boxing, we need to understand and identify and understand just how much effect we can, how much change and effect we could cause in the sport of boxing. We need to understand our worth in the sport of boxing. That's why in the video I made about this situation with the WBA, WBN, and the rest of the sanction bodies, that's why I stated that, I said, unfortunately, WBN, we as the fans and the boxing media will continue to recognize the WBA as one of the major sanction bodies. Period. That's what they need to understand, that we control the power, not them.
absolutely, absolutely, and that's what I was saying last night, Blue, on the stream I did. That we have the influence to make change, but it has to be done in a proper manner, focused in a proper direction, and we can gain a lot of ground. I spoke of the decorum that has to go behind our motives. You can't just go out here and be blasting somebody in profanity laced comments and rhetoric and things like that. No, you have to do it with a certain type of representation because you're looking to do it for the sport, not for an individual. So that is one of the things, first and foremost, we have to understand. And one of the main ways is like this dialogue that we're having right now, where you're revealing the information to us, letting us know what they're doing and how they're trying to counter what's good for the sport with what the WBA done by trying to now make the WBA appear to be inconsequential. Like it's like they're nobody now. It's like, oh, because they don't represent that agenda that the overall majority does, like the WBN. So that being said, this is great because see, now we have something else that we can talk about and do it and give it its proper service without talking about these other things in the sport. Like when someone talks about the purses, right? Or who's ducking who and who's A side and B side, all of that foolishness. Let's talk about this stuff here. If we're going to talk about something outside of the sport, and if the proper matches are taking place, let's talk about that. But let's not give energy to the foolishness that takes place in the sport where you see mismatches and showcase matches over and over and over again. And then you have certain promoters and stuff. Oh, I can't pay for this and I can't do it. I'm not gonna listen. We don't have to tune into your crap. We can take our dollars and our focuses somewhere else. You know,
Exactly, and that's the thing. But we need
remember
to, as fans,
remember
understand.
Paulie Malignaggi, Blue? Remember him?
Yep,
We got
yep.
him
We
off of that
affected
air,
change.
didn't we?
Yep,
We got him
exactly.
off of that air. See, and that's his
Exactly.
example.
And that's what people need to understand, that we can affect change. We can affect change. You
Yeah,
know, look what we did when we wanted Terrence Crawford. See, a lot of people, they'll say, "Hey, Blue, you don't like Terrence Crawford, or you hating against Terrence Crawford," but they don't understand. When I was one of the people that petitioned for Terrence Crawford to get his opportunity to fight Julius Ndongo for undisputed, when the IBF was saying that Julius Ndongo had to defend it against his mandatory,
right.
and Terrence Crawford said, "Listen, if that's the case, I'm going to 147," and we petitioned letters upon letters and information and contacting the IBF. And listen, we want Terrence Crawford and Julius Ndongo for undisputed. Because Terrence
That's
Crawford was ready to throw his hands in the air and go to 147. He wouldn't have been undisputed. He would have just been unified.
right. I remember that. And you were leading the charge on that. I want to take a quick moment and go to the chat. We got a super chat from Taylor Bell. Says, I love this content and discussion. Thank you guys. Thank you, Taylor Bell, for the donation. And Drew Titan, our brother, is out there with the $5 holler. He says, let's get the likes up for the Sensei and Blue. Yes, sir. Thank you for that, Drew Titan. Much respect to Drew Titan, who had Frez Okendo on his show last Sunday and may be having him on again very soon. And I just wanted to say this about Frez, Blue.
Mm-hmm.
I know Frez personally, known him since 92. And one of the things that he wants it to be known is this. He's not trying to fight anymore. He wants to be compensated for being cheated out of an opportunity that he had negotiated for himself, and they reneged on that. And then when he was still in contention, they kept jockeying guys around him, guys who were flunking tests and things like that, popping dirty and things like that. And he kept being shuffled to the side while other things were taking place. And he spoke about that at great length in Drew's stream last Sunday, but he's not going to be fighting anymore. He's running his academy and everything, but in lieu of what they've done to him financially, he's still chasing that in the legal system because we're talking double figures in the millions, that he's owed, and rightfully so. He should get that. And of course, Don King is kind of attached to the situation as well. So I just wanted to put that out there. And he will be offering up the opportunity to speak. And brother Kano Local Sports also had Frez on this week, and he spoke on his channel as well. So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, that's the corruption within the sport of boxing that we deal with, man, on a daily basis, and not too many people understand, or they choose to just turn a blind eye to it, man. They choose to just, ignore it, man. They don't want to truly acknowledge what's going on in the sport of boxing. Pardon me for the noise, Stormy. I'm in the barbershop. I had to take my son, but they don't. Too many people don't want to acknowledge what's truly going on, the black eye behind the scenes in the sport of boxing, man. You understand? Everybody wants to turn a blind eye. It's easy to just root for the guy that you love. It's easy to do that, right? It's not easy to we have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable in the sport of boxing, with saying the uncomfortable things, with making the uncomfortable actions. That's what we got to do in the sport of boxing, right? We have to take the uncomfortable actions, right? It's not always comfortable. It's not always the right position to, to go outside or go against the quote unquote grain in the sport of boxing, man. And look how many people, suffer after the sport of boxing is over, man. They don't get compensated for anything, and the sport just continues to go on as usual. No issue. It's just like the situation with Bob Arum, right? Bob Arum, we're gonna act like Bob Arum didn't go to court for bribery. You understand? And proving that he bribed some judges. You know, understand? So we're gonna act like that never even took place. You understand what I'm saying? That's incorrect. We know that this took place, but Bob Arum is still within the sport of boxing. And that's why when you look at the situation with Deontay Wilder, we're going to act like there hasn't been glove tampering and cheating within the sport of boxing over the years. This is not nothing new within the sport of boxing. This is not anything new. This is something that we know takes place in the sport of boxing. So, like the situation with Deontay Wilder is that I look at it and say, from this standpoint, are we going to act like if there's a possibility, then that means there's a chance it could be done, and that should be given the benefit of the doubt, not the guy that's being in question. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Want to take a quick moment to go back to the chat because we got another super chat donation from Kurt Anderson, aka Kurt Sugar, aka the historian, aka your co-host. He says, "Great show, two great boxing minds, 100." Thanks, Kurt. And to Eric Jenkins out there in that Cash app, he says, "Always on point. Thank you both for the donations to the channel." And salute to everybody else out there tuned in. Smash the like button and give it up for Blue Blood Sports TV, who's taking time out of his busy schedule to sit in the eye of the storm with Stormy B Man and you all. So, Blue, I know you busy and everything, but I would still be interested in asking you to come back for a part 2 when we finish this show, because there's so much more you could offer, and we got a great deal of background to you as a person and what you've done early in your working career that brought you over here to share some of that passion with us. So we really appreciate you being available for today, but maybe sometime in the future. It doesn't have to be within the next couple of weeks, but I would like to bring you back for a part 2. We're not quite done just yet, but I'm just letting you know and putting it out there and letting everybody hear me put it out there. So maybe they'll pressure you in it. When you going back on there and finish up that part 2 with Stormy?
Man, we can do it next Saturday, man, if you want to. I don't care.
1 second, we got another super chat. Mr. Padzor is out there, says, "Blue, what happened to Jupiter B? Haven't seen him." Is that something you got some information on? Yeah, because he hasn't been around.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in a while, man. That's a great question. I'm gonna reach out to him on social media, man, because I haven't seen him in a while on nobody's channel. So I'm glad you asked that.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something. In the midst of everything that's been going on with what we've been dealing with as a global society, we need to check in on our brothers and sisters that we haven't seen or heard from, because this has put a lot of people on their backs, man. And we're not just talking about contracting illness. We're talking about their economic circumstances, their housing circumstances. Man, this has really hit like nothing else that I've seen in my lifetime. And we do have to hold each other up, So when you find that there are brothers and sisters out there that you haven't heard from, you may want to look into checking up on some people, when you can. Just saying that to everybody that's out there listening, So, but we got some fights tonight, Blue. Mr. Caleb Plant, and he's going to be taking on Caleb Truax. And it's funny, we got the Calebs out here tonight. I wanted to ask you, while we had your ear and your voice, what do you think about that card this evening? And also, we got the heavyweights, Coffee and Rock out there. It's broadcast live on Fox. So
yeah, man, I'm a huge fan of Caleb Plant, man. I'm a huge fan of Caleb Plant, man. his style, his approach to the sport of boxing, you know, his athletic ability, his mindset. It just made me a huge fan of Caleb Plant, man. To a lot of people's surprise, man, I don't see too many people beating him. I don't think that Canelo Alvarez, I think that Canelo Alvarez,
You're
and
a
it's
little too close to those
that.
clippers, dude. You're a little too close to those clippers.
All right,
Are you cutting the hair?
no, it's me. You
Okay.
can hear me?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, I hear you.
yeah.
But
So I'm a big fan of. I don't see too many people beat that he beat everybody. I think that he beats David Benavidez. I think that his skill set and his athletic ability and his foot speed, and his accuracy, and ultimately his approach, his mindset to the sport of boxing. I think that that's ultimately going to be the difference for Caleb Plant. I think he's going to outclass Plant.
okay. Yeah. I think Caleb Plant is the type of fighter that he needs someone to bring out of him what is really. He's definitely a damn good boxer. He can box. Sweet hands, they call him, but he needs a challenge. He needs someone that can actually pull something out, which is why, again, when we talk about who should be fighting who in the sport, that's the type of opponent that Canelo Alvarez should have been fighting, not Mr. Smith, but this man, because that's what we want to see. Now, Mr. Smith could have been fighting who Caleb is fighting tonight, huh? Mr. Truax, because they're more aligned with what should be happening in the sport. And you never know when you put guys like that together, because someone will rise and someone will fall to the wayside. And the guy who falls to the wayside, back to the end of the line. But the guy who's successful, maybe he catapults himself in line for a true title shot. This is how it used to be, but it's not that way anymore. And when you see all these extra belts out there and whatnot, and you saw that Mr. Smith had a belt, and you saw how woeful he looked against Canelo, that lets you know right there why you shouldn't have all these doggone belts, because he's not a real champion.
Yeah, I agree, man. And but Canelo Alvarez was looking to fight Caleb Plant first, but Caleb Plant said it was too short notice, so he had to pull out of the fight.
Right. And that's what we know, that is kind of like one of those deals where maybe Canelo was hoping he wouldn't take the fight, because of the short notice and everything. And Caleb shouldn't take a fight of that magnitude on a short notice. Respect him like you would want to be respected, and let him have a proper camp to get ready. Huh? But see, when guys do things like that, once again, it's more telling of the individual who wants to try to make that offer and deal than it is of the person who may be declining it. Because you can't tell me that Sweet Hands wouldn't mind fighting Canelo, but if you're going to give him a 4 or 5 week camp or something to get ready for a fight of that magnitude, no, he's not going to take that fight, nor should he.
Right, right. And so he turned the fight down. He said it was too short notice, and his team told him, "Listen, we need the proper 8 week camp for Canelo Alvarez."
Right. And I agree with that 1000%, because again, you'll be paid handsomely, but some fighters still retain that mindset and the spirit of wanting to be successful and be a winner, and they want to put themselves in the best possible position to win. It really makes me wonder about some of the other fighters who decided to take a fight against Canelo, like Kovalev and Danny Jacobs and guys like that, because you just
and
kind of
and,
question,
and
you know.
Caleb Smith and Sergey Kovalev took the fight on short notice as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Danny Jacobs took it for the payday. He did not fight like a guy who was looking to win. Matter of fact, I saw him maybe once or twice in the match. He hit Canelo with something that looked like, okay, let's see you follow up. And it looked like he backed up and say, oh, I'm sorry that I hit you so hard. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. He looked just like he looked in the last fight against Gabe Rosado.
Right.
He
You
didn't.
know,
He wasn't assertive. He didn't look like he came to win. He looked like he came to collect the paycheck.
exactly.
And the same goes with Caleb Smith. How you gonna have a 9-inch arm reach advantage and a 7-inch height advantage, and you don't even you backing yourself off? That's horrible, man. That's a disgrace to the sport of boxing.
Most definitely. So, yeah, with that being said, you know, this is what we're talking about. And if as long as we stay on point with what we should, and I am really an advocate of what you were talking about with this WBN position and stuff like that. We could have more streams and more conversations about that stuff. And if some good fights are being made, yeah, we'll take time out and talk about that too. But let's stay on their necks. Let's stay on their necks about this corruption. Let's stay on their necks about this deception and the disrespect. The disrespect is both to the fighters
And it's
to the,
disrespectful to the fans.
and to the fans.
Ultimately,
That's what I was about to
you are
say.
the paying customers. Without you as the fans, they don't have no sport.
Absolutely. So, you know, but yeah, we're at that hour mark, Blue, and you're trying to get trimmed up there and whatnot. We're gonna let you go ahead, but I am so thankful that we got you for this. We're gonna have you back for a part two, and just let everybody know what you got on the horizon for us and everything, and remind them where they can find you, and we'll be looking to have you back for a part two on this.
Yeah, man. Y'all already know, man. Hold on one second. Y'all already know, man. Boy, Blue, man. I'm gonna have more videos happening today, and next Saturday, I'll come back on next Saturday.
Yes, sir. Well, you know what? Next Saturday, unless I do a double up, because guess who I got for next Saturday? I
Who's
got
that?
the general. The
7
general.
Sports TV.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Got the
Okay. So
general lined up for next Saturday.
let me know.
And if you want to do the Saturday after that for your part two, that'll be fine. But I do have the general. He already locked it down. So
Okay. All right.
yeah,
So 2 Saturdays from now,
two
I'm on
Saturdays.
for it.
Yeah. Sounds good,
Yes, sir.
man. And
I
much
appreciate
respect
you.
to you for coming in for the In the Eye of the Storm. This has been In the Eye of the Storm with Stormy B Man featuring Blue Blood Sports TV. Please, if you haven't had a chance, hit that like button on your way out. You know, Blue said he's got more content dropping today, so be looking out for that. And we're gonna get on up out of here and let the brother get trimmed up because he got to be looking good for his close up. And we're gonna say that's it for now. Peace to everybody. Thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you on the
Yes, sir.
next.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, Stormy, man. Make sure y'all hit that like button, man.
Yes, sir.
All right, brother.